This Friday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. Right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. What's your sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe even wrestling, maybe even boxing. Whatever it is, you can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. They still have sale items up from their Christmas sale, up to 50% off. And with our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off. Doesn't matter if it's on sale. If it's a regular priced item, it doesn't matter. You get it for 10% off. Use the promo code Sports Addict at firstroundcollectibles.com today. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And welcome, Pucks Across Borders on a Friday morning on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Good to be here. Good to be back. What a crazy night in the NHL last night. We'll get into what we saw on the ice last night. Plus, as always, we'll break down the 3 games on the ice tonight. Plus, we'll talk a little bit. I think we need to console our boy Andre. I think we're going to talk to him a little bit. Just let him know that we're here for him. Let him know that we support him and that we believe in him, and he's not alone as he goes through this journey. But first, I'm your host, Mark Sauter. Like I said, good to be here on a Friday morning. And beside me at the top of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics, Winners and Whiners. You see him on Total Apex Sports, talking football, talking basketball, both NBA and college. Busy month coming up for you soon here in a few weeks on the college side. Andre, how you feeling on a Friday morning?
Woke up energized and feeling pretty good.
You did.
March is coming, though. Beware. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There's no commercials in March, but very hectic. So
I gotta say, I told you, man, when you jumped on the stream before we went live, of course, you had a pep in your step, man. You had a jump to you, and I love to see it. At the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics as well. John, how you doing on a Friday morning, man? I feel like you need a hug.
In the hockey world, I could be doing better for sure. Andre's boys, they played a pretty good game last night. Very solid start to finish. So earned a win. What can you do? And well, I'm sure we'll get into this later. Hopefully my team isn't giving up complete hope yet, but maybe they are. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I have a little speech that I wrote for you, just to let you know that I'm here for you. We'll get into that a little bit later. Yeah, I did. I was thinking about you last night, man. I was thinking about you as, you know, the Leafs were up 4-0 in the first period and Andre's boys won 5-1, and I'm just looking at your little name on our group chat, and I was thinking about you, man. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. First, let's dive into what we took away from the NHL last night. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What did you take away from the NHL on a Thursday night?
yeah, so Boston Bruins went to Calgary, lost in overtime, 3-2, whatever. Top of the East now by 1 point. Both teams trying to have a game in hand. Blah, 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 blah. They now have a 34-12-12 record. I did this with the Islanders like a month or two ago. I'm going to do it now with the Bruins because we're deeper into the season and they lose a lot less than the Islanders. So, is it possible that the Bruins finish with more overtime losses than regulation losses?
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
a good one. I
oh
think it
wow,
absolutely is.
yeah, it's possible now. I didn't
I
realize how
mean,
close that was.
It's
I would
20.
have to crunch. Yeah, like I would have to crunch the numbers to get super specific, but like it almost seems likely, no? Like it almost seems like it's more likely that they lose more overtime games than regulation games. It kind of feels that way.
I feel that way too. I feel like, especially lately, they're just, even when they lose, they're clawing to points.
Yeah.
Like they're fighting their way to overtime and then just bowing out against Western Conference teams. Uh, it's tough to do, but how many teams are realistically for 60 minutes just straight up beating the Bruins? It doesn't happen very often.
No.
It's
So I
only
feel like
been
this,
done 12 times this year.
yeah,
Well, and like, you know, that game against Dallas, that went to overtime. They won. But they were losing in that third period. The game against the Oilers, they were winning, different. But that game last night, again, they were losing in the third period. There are two other, because I believe that's 5 straight overtime games, no? Or 4 at least. Or 5 in the last 7 or something like that. So there's other games that I'm actually forgetting about here too. But yeah, that's a really interesting question, Andre. Got us thinking on a Friday morning. John, what about you, man? What's your takeaway in the NHL last night?
So I think we're going to save the main discussion for later. So I'll jump on something else in the hockey world. We had a little fun with this yesterday, the authentic pucks across borders battle. And I think Andre and I maybe shocked Mark more than I've ever seen him with our picks. Representing the USA and the Seattle Kraken against the Vancouver Canucks. Which, side note, that's turned into a nice local rivalry, being like I think 2 or
Yeah,
3
it
hours
has.
apart from each other, and right on the border. So last night, on yesterday's show, it came into fruition that we were living up to the show name with our picks, and we did not script that, by the way, for the people listening. We genuinely revealed that on the air, so it just worked. And Seattle, I think that was one of the few bright spots of my picks yesterday. It wasn't a terrible night overall, but I missed on some of my main picks. But Seattle came through. They beat Vancouver convincingly, 5-2. But I don't know. I don't know if that really says much about Seattle. I feel the same way Mark said the other day about the Kraken. They are who they are, even with this win. I just think they caught Vancouver at a good time, in my opinion. And my takeaway is more about the Canucks here. I think short term, I said yesterday, short term, I'm concerned about the Canucks. Long term, I'm not overly worried about them. I think this is just their turn to go for a rough stretch in the season. Every team goes through it. Very early this year, we saw the Carolina Hurricanes get off to a very slow start. There was a stretch Boston couldn't win a regulation game to save their lives, or like,
Yeah.
Winnipeg, we just talked about recently. They went through a rough stretch. Vegas in January, I believe, went through it. I remember a time where both of you were sweating about your teams. So my point is, I don't think Vancouver Canucks fans should hit the panic button, but I do think we need to be aware that they are going through something right now that they need to work through. It's just their turn, and Seattle caught them at a good time. And Mark, you made an excellent point in our pre-show discussion with the Canucks that the Canucks are going through a losing streak, but they really haven't lost any ground. Like they're still up by 10 points in the Pacific over Vegas, and Dallas has been on a bit of a losing streak themselves. So, in terms of like for the top seed in the West, Vancouver still has the lead despite losing 4 straight games. So, well, but the lead by like the same amount they did. So, I think my takeaway is we have to recognize something's going on with the Canucks, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that they're similar to Toronto. I think that because of what that market has been through, panic sets in very quickly. And I think that from the outside looking in, hey, it happens to everybody. You'll be okay. I think, I don't know. This is just from the top of my head, and you guys can correct me if you think that I might be wrong here, but like nobody expected Vancouver to be what they have been. Maybe make the playoffs, but would anybody have really been surprised if they missed the playoffs? I don't necessarily think so. And so when you go on a 4-game losing streak in February, that fear of like, this is what we thought. This is, I knew it. I knew that this team wasn't what they have been, so far this year. Like that can kind of settle in. But no, some great points by you. And you're 100% like John. I was shocked that I was the only one taking the Canucks yesterday. I couldn't believe it. But hey, both you boys know what you're talking about. And I need to think twice before I second guess you. My takeaway last night, the Detroit Red Wings beat the Colorado Avalanche in overtime. They're losing that game 1-0 in the third period as I believe around the halfway mark. That could be a little off, but partway through the period, regardless, Larkin scores, ties the game up. They end up winning the game in overtime. Patrick Kane with the overtime winner. And that was the one last night that makes me believe this team is a playoff team and they will make the playoffs. Colorado, I know that they're a different team on the road than they are at home, but they're Colorado and they had a lead in the third period. And for the Red Wings to come back to win that game since the new year in 2024, they have lost 6 games. That's it. Yeah, a couple in a row, but only 2 in a row twice since the year, once since the year changed. They're winning 1 or losing 1, winning 2, losing 1, winning 3, losing 1. Like they're staying consistent. They beat, like I said, Colorado last night. They beat Seattle, who was not a juggernaut, but they're a good team. They beat Calgary. They beat Vancouver. They beat Vegas. They beat Philly. They beat Tampa Bay. They beat Florida. They beat Toronto. They beat the Kings. I know that the Kings, that was towards the beginning of January, and we learned later the Kings were going through a tough time themselves. But they beat good teams, really good teams. They're not just beating the Sharks every night. Like they're beating good hockey teams. I really like what I've been seeing from them. I threw out plus 100 for them to make the playoffs to you guys back in like November. And they hit a bit of a rough patch shortly after I said that, which is bound to happen. But they've been playing really good hockey and they've been beating good teams. Okay, you lose 4-1 in Vancouver. You lose 8-4 to Edmonton. That happens, right? Edmonton, Vancouver, they're juggernauts. But Seattle, Calgary, sure, they're not in the playoffs right now, but they're right in that wild card spot. After those wins, you have to go all the way back to January the 7th. This is the last time they beat a team that's not currently in the playoffs. So I really, really like this Detroit team. Are they going to go far? Who knows? Anything can happen, I suppose. But I believe in this Detroit team. I like what they're doing down there. They are going to be a team to be reckoned with in the future. And I think it's important to add in Patrick Kane chose them for a reason. I do believe that there are personal reasons to it as well. Just like location and family and stuff like that. But he isn't going to, at this point in his career, pick a team that doesn't have a shot. you know? So I like what Detroit's doing. I'm happy for them. I've mentioned my 91-year-old grandfather being a Lions fan. He's a Red Wings fan too. So good to see him get to celebrate a playoff berth. You know, they made it to the playoffs for 25 straight years, and it's been a lean, 3 years? So the hockey gods felt bad for them, and they're back. They're back, baby, and I believe in it. All right, let's move on to our bad beats. John, we'll go right back to you, man. What's your bad beat last night?
Bad beat last night. There was nothing really of the games I lost yesterday. There was nothing really nail biting or like heartbreaking. But I think as part of an overall trend, I'm going to pick this as my bad beat, and that's the Los Angeles Kings. Yesterday I had them as my best bet on the puck line, and then that aged like milk. The Kings not only didn't cover the puck line, they lost the game outright by multiple goals. I think the Nashville puck line would have even covered there. So Kings, just when I thought they were back, they slip up a little bit. Overall, I still think they're fine. Good win for Nashville, but bad beat. Can't seem to find a best bet win this week, boys. Y'all may have to give me an intervention next week if I miss this one tonight.
I told you, man. I told you yesterday we'd have to talk about your future on the show, but you know what? Andre also lost his bad beat, so you're not alone. He saved you, really. He lost the game to save you. So I hope that you thank him. Send him a box of muffins or something. Because he I don't know why muffins came to mind, but hey, who doesn't like a good muffin? Because yeah, he saved you for sure. And I mean, listen, Andre, I called you and I out yesterday. I said that you and I may have jumped the gun for the Kings to miss the playoffs. St. Louis wins, Nashville wins, Seattle wins, Calgary wins.
I don't want to overreact to that. I want to give I think this is more about Nashville than the Kings. I think Nashville's coming up with some big wins this week.
Yeah, man, big time. No, big time. I'm just saying, Kings got 66 points.
No, for sure. It's a close race.
Nashville 62, Seattle, Calgary 59. Who knows?
A lot of teams won last night on the bubble. In the
West. Man. And you got the Wild playing the Oilers tonight. That's a huge game for them. Big time. Vegas lost last night, so if Edmonton wins, then they can tie the Golden Knights. Lots of drama going on in the standings for sure. Andre, what's your bad beat from last night, bro?
Well, one, it's being foolish enough to fade the almighty Capitals. But two, it's the Avalanche. Colorado, I thought that game would be lower scoring. I had that feeling, and it was. And if you tell me that the Avalanche are going to hold a team to one goal in 60 minutes, I'm taking them to win 100% of the time.
Yes.
I don't care who they're playing. They could be playing Bobby Orr and Patrick Waugh, and it doesn't matter. I'm taking the Avalanche team to score at least 2 goals in 60 minutes, especially against the Red Wings. But they couldn't do that. They scored early, didn't score again, not in the second period. Or I'm sorry, their first goal was in the second period. It was early in the second period. But they didn't score again in that period. They didn't score again in the third period. They did not score in overtime. They lost in Little Caesars Arena because Patrick Kane buried one. And they're in good shape. But Colorado is not a team that should be finishing a game with 1 goal, especially against the Red Wings, who struggled defensively. So for sure, my bad beat. They had really good money line odds yesterday. And it's a shame that they couldn't cash for me.
Yeah, I've already given my Detroit Red Wings speech. I will say that was a really, really fun game, though. Like, that third period was super entertaining. And Alex Lyon stood on his head for the most part. And the good young goaltender, too. I can't remember who was in net for Colorado. It was only like his 4th or 5th start of the year last night. But he played phenomenally as well. My bad beat, we're going to Carolina. And I picked the Panthers. But that's not even the bad beat part of it. Is that I had a little $5 bonus bet, threw a nice little parlay together to pay out 500. And a little long shot parlay, threw a bunch of stuff in there. It's a $5 bonus bet, whatever. Have some fun with it. And not only did the Panthers lose 1-0, not only did Carolina score with like 20 seconds left in the game, I follow at NHL Goals on Twitter. They are Robo Grind or whatever that company is. They do a great job. You can follow them for touchdowns, for home runs, for goals, amongst other things. And it just basically notifies you when one of those things happen. It's awesome. It's great. So every single goal in the NHL every night gets notified right to my phone. So if I'm busy, I can see, oh, this person scored. This person scored. It's perfect for a degenerate gambler like myself. I absolutely love it. I get a notification that the Florida Panthers score, and I can't remember who it was that scored. But I get a notification that Florida scored. I knew it was the third period, late in the third period. They're up 1-0. Amazing. And I don't even think about it. And then later in the night, I'm checking my bets and I'm like, wait, why isn't this bet on my screen? And I look and I'm like, wait, they lost. They got that goal taken off the board. Carolina ends up scoring with 20 seconds left in the game. And the Panthers win. So not only was that a bad beat, but just my whole mental frame of mind. The whole thing was a bad beat because I was tricked. And that's nothing against them. I mean, they're not going to send me another tweet being like, oh, never mind, it was taken off the board. They sent what they sent, and it is what it is. And my phone was on sleep mode, so I didn't get the Carolina goal. And it was a whole thing. Too long of a story, really, to talk about with regards to getting a tweet, but it is what it is, and that is my bad beat. All right, John, I really like to make fun of you. I think it's really fun, and I don't really know why. Just must be the camaraderie that you and I have. I really like to chirp you. It's really funny for me. It's like high school, grade school bully thing. So probably something I should talk to my therapist about. It's something going on there, but I really do like picking on you. However, all jokes with regards to your New Jersey Devils are now in the past and will stay there until next year. Because as a fan, my heart goes out to you, man. It has been a year of hope that has been up and down, up and down. I know that you're not losing hope yet. I might be a little bit ahead of you on that one. I think Andre said this on the pre-show that you don't believe that the Lightning can necessarily hold on. Like, they might hold on, but you can see the Lightning slipping out of a playoff spot. Washington, who knows? The Islanders, I think they are what they are. Like, they're still mathematically, and there's still quite a few games left. Like, they're only, 5 points out right now?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
they're
so
they're
it's
5
like,
points back at Tampa.
yeah, so the last couple losses have been tough. Like, Capitals loss, losing to the Rangers, nothing to be ashamed of. That was a tough way to go down last night. So I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. I appreciate you. I'm your friend, and I will not make fun of you. I will make fun of you, but I won't make fun of you for the Devils for the rest of the year. And you have my word. All right. So I just want you to know that if you ever need to talk as a Leaf fan,
I know you've been through the ringer.
Yeah. Probably worse than you, if we're being quite honest about it.
No, I don't. I'm not arguing that at all.
Anyway, that's my speech. I hope you hear the sincerity in my words. John, talk to us about your New Jersey Devils. Devils, man. What happened last night, and how are you feeling? Um, I feel like I'm taking this a bit more negatively than you might be, but you're a fan holding on to hope. How do you feel,
No,
man?
I'm there. Mark, well, first off, you bring up the therapy point. Sometimes I feel we've joked about this before. Sometimes this show is a good therapy session, cheaper than a real one at least, to
Much cheaper. Yeah.
air out some sports grievances a
Yeah.
little bit. Just said to Andre last night, and can't really say much. His team beat us fair and square. They looked like the better team doing it. I told both of you guys last night that game showed us why the Rangers are in first and the Devils are in ninth in the conference. Uh on the Devils side of things, I feel like the Bastion stuff was a little bit concerning. Mainly after talking to Andre, I got more concerned about it. I felt like he was being picked on a little bit, but talking to Andre last night, I think he's right in that the fact that no one backed up Bastion after the second time, I feel like is a problem. Think after having time to think about it. I'm very concerned about two other things with the Devils too. One, the power play seems to have disappeared. There was a point where they were nearly 30% on the power play. I think they're like 22% now, something like that. But last night really was notable how far they've fallen because like they had a 5-minute major in the first period. They didn't score. They had a double minor in the second period, didn't score. And they had another power play after that, didn't score. I'm pretty sure they had a couple more besides those two, but that's 11 minutes right there by itself. And I think the Devils gave up a goal while they were 4-on-4 as well. So I'm very concerned about the power play right now. It seems like it's not nearly as reliable as it was in the first month of the year. Dawes has fallen off too. Bad night again for the second straight time. I might have been a little quick to say he's our stable guy. I think we're seeing some flaws come out these last couple of
He's
games.
young though too, right? Like he's a rookie, is
Yeah,
he
he's
not?
very young. I think
Yeah.
he's like 23 or 24.
Yeah.
He's young. And I'll give this for Dawes. I don't think the defense in front of him is doing any favors. That's been an issue all year that Devils fans have been complaining about. A legitimate one at that. Timo Meier, Devils fans want his head. That nobody's happy about his contract now with the way he's been playing in the second half of the season, at least. I feel like they're panicking a little bit there, but I definitely see the complaints. He hasn't lived up to what he was at the start of the year. I'm not ready to jump to outright give up on the Devils yet, but I may just be in denial. I will say Andre touched on something, I believe, on yesterday's show, maybe the day before. That Devils Lightning game is becoming more and more important now, especially with the Detroit win last night. Tampa Bay falling victim to the almighty Capitals as well. This could be a legitimate battle of 8-9, and Devils need to win that game honestly, because like if they're still 5 points back heading into Sunday, Tampa Bay can gain some nice space with a regulation win there. So all eyes are on the Devils right now. I am not worried about anybody behind the Devils. I'll be honest. I don't think any of those teams are real. Not even the Capitals, despite them refusing to go away. But
It's more the teams ahead
yeah,
of them that you're worried about. Yeah.
correct. I'm worried because I agree with you. I don't think Tampa and Detroit are going away. And I guess if we want to lump in Philadelphia there, them too.
Philadelphia's gone, dude. Let's just be honest about that. Philadelphia, they're there. They're up there. They're
I would
staying.
trust us to catch Detroit or Tampa Bay over Philly. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's gone.
But Detroit and Tampa Bay, even though Tampa Bay has lost a couple games recently, they're going to be tough teams to catch. That's what I'm trying to say. It's getting harder to believe one of them will miss the playoffs. So we have our work cut out for us, and I'm starting to agree with you guys that we got to win that game on Sunday against Tampa Bay. Have to.
I think right now, it's the end of February. There's still lots of games to be played. Not lots, but enough.
Still a third of the season left, yeah.
You got Montreal, Tampa Bay, San Jose, Anaheim. That's your next 4 games. I really do think you got to go 4-0. If you go 3-1, okay, but who's that one against, right? Because you got to beat
Can't
Tampa
lose this
Bay,
year, bro. Can't lose
and
this
then
year.
if you lose to the Sharks, you're gonna want to kill yourself. So, like, which I mean, talk about therapy. So, which one? I really do think you got to go 4-0 here, because if you go 3-1, like I said, you don't want that one to be against Tampa Bay, and you don't want to lose to Montreal, San Jose, Anaheim. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion.
They're playing the Kings right after that too, and I'm gonna be in for those. I don't know if I mentioned on the show. I'm gonna be in attendance for that game out in LA.
Oh, dude. They might lift your spirits or crush your soul
I
live.
know I'm a little nervous heading into this stretch.
I
Really am.
love it. Well, you know what though? You know what, man?
On the edge of
No matter how the Kings are playing, no matter how the Devils are playing, I'm gonna bet on your Devils and watch from home, rooting for you. All right, we're here for you.
There we go.
Andre, over to you for a sec. We might as well just do a quick little roundtable here. Your Rangers win 9 in a row last night. Was it 9 in a row or 10 in a row? 9, right?
Yeah.
I've been on record to say that I really do believe that the path to the Stanley Cup final goes through Florida. I have also been on the record of saying the one team I think that matches up really well with them is the Rangers. In this 9-game winning streak, Shesterkin has come back from the dead. He's been phenomenal. Is there anything in your boys that kind of like playing with fire or anything like that? Or have they really rounded into form at the perfect time right now?
I just think they got their swagger back.
Yeah.
You see the physicality, the resolve. Shesterkin making that breakout pass off the boards.
Oh my goodness, that was unbelievable.
That's Shesterkin hockey. Like making saves, yes, great in the net, but he's going to try to make plays offensively. He's going to try to be involved. He looks right again. Even that Stadium Series game, I know he gave up 5 goals. He looks right again. And as good as the team was when he was struggling, he's the reason why I feel like the Rangers can truly beat anyone. I think when he's right, he's the best goalie in the world, bar none. Looking ahead here, no disrespect to Philly, who's Saturday, somewhat kind of disrespectful to Columbus, even though I feel like they're going to beat us in one of those games. We have them back-to-back to close the month. We open March with your boys, Mark, and then the Panthers after that. I think, obviously, I love when we play the Maple Leafs. I think those are really fun games. Just good hockey. There's no like bad blood or anything. Just entertaining, back and forth stuff. Good litmus test for both teams because they're both kind of riding high right now. That Panthers game, especially if Matt Rempe doesn't get suspended.
Is that back-to-back, by the way? Is that back-to-back? Or do you have a day off in between?
There's a day off between.
Yeah.
Because we're in Toronto and then we fly back home for the Panthers.
True.
That Panthers game is going to say a lot. Physically, mentally. That's going to be a very interesting game in the Garden. With the way both teams are playing right now.
Yeah, huge.
Trying to just like push other teams around. Obviously keeping the puck out the net, great, but the offenses are rolling well, ignoring the fact that the Panthers got shut out yesterday. So the Rangers' road ahead is tough, but with the way they're playing now, with Shesterkin back in the groove, the D-men are healthy. I think that's more important than the forwards at this point. I like our chances. Not saying we're going to win it all, but I think we can. Yeah.
There's something about you guys that I really do think, like, with all due respect to my boys, like, I'm going to talk about them in a second here. But I really do think that there's something about how the Rangers match up. I just think you guys have that kind of grit that can match up well with the Panthers. And I think that the Bruins have that as well, but I also don't think the Bruins are deep enough to handle the Panthers. And I think the Rangers are. So really, I just feel guilty about talking about my team all the time. So I made you guys talk about your team so I can feel better about talking about mine. The Leafs last night beat Vegas 7-3, and it's important to, in the context of like the Maple Leafs, the Leafs win 6 in a row. All these stats, pardon me, all these stats flying around. Morgan Riley is suspended for 5 games. All these stats flying around that in the last 2 seasons, the Leafs are 19-2-1 without Morgan Riley. Last year, he was out for a massive chunk of time. He came back in Arizona and they lost. He's coming back tonight. What's going to happen? Not only do they win 7-3, they chase Aiden Hill in the first period, up 4-0. Early in this game, the sweatiest 7-3 win that I've ever seen in my life. Like, they're up 6-1 going into the third. Vegas scores 2 goals within 2 minutes, and it's 6-3 at the beginning of the third period all of a sudden, and you're just like, oh, no. I've seen this movie before. But the big point for me is, yes, Austin Matthews scores again last night, make it 52 on the year. Mitch Marner gets 2 assists last night. That gives him 6 games straight where he's gotten at least 2 assists. Now, one can say when you pass the puck to Austin Matthews all the time, you're going to get helpers. But also, some of these passes that he's feeding Matthews with are just unbelievable. Like, I think they both go hand in hand. I don't think Matthews gets the quality of shots that he gets without Mitch Marner. Yes, he might score as many goals, but he doesn't have as many good looks if he doesn't have Marner, where Marner doesn't have as many assists if he doesn't have Matthews. So I think both those two things are true. The more important thing for the Leafs last night, Max Domi, 2 goals. Holmberg, 1 goal, 1 assist. Bertuzzi gets an assist. Kampf gets a goal. Tavares gets a goal. He's had a really tough time 5-on-5. McMahon has been scoring a lot lately. The real question up here in Toronto over the last month or so is, okay, great. Willie's on pace for 40. Matthews at the time was on pace for 60. Now he's pushing close to 80 that he's on pace for. But what about the depth? Well, right now, something's clicking with this team where the depth is really showing up in a big way. And I was texting my brother last night, and I've probably joked about this on the show before. I'm starting to really believe in this team, and it's making me very uncomfortable. I find it very hard to not support this team, but I find it hard to believe in this team when I have witnessed the inevitable every single year in the first round, all but 1 year. I'm 34 years old. They've won 1 round since I was in grade 9. So, like, it's difficult to buy into this team no matter how good they are when you just year after year getting your heart crushed. But I'm really starting to buy into what these guys are doing. I still think they're a bad matchup for Florida. But we'll kind of see what happens moving forward. Huge win last night for them in Vegas. Now, the typical Leaf skepticism here. You beat the Blues twice. Yeah, you beat Philly, but you were beating Philly 3-1. Philly comes back. You win it in overtime. You beat the Coyotes. Yeah, you beat Vegas, but they don't have Mark Stone. They don't have Eichel. Aiden Hill had an off night. You're in Colorado Saturday night. So let's see. how this 6-game winning streak goes when you play Colorado in Colorado. And we've talked a lot about how good they are at home. So, yeah, we'll see what happens when they go to Colorado. That is the end of my Leaf rant. Thank you for listening as always. All right, let's move on to the 3 games on the ice tonight. A couple clunkers, one good one, I think, later on in the evening. But the night starts off with Buffalo in Columbus. Buffalo is minus 142 favorites at home, or on the road, rather. Columbus is plus 120 underdogs at home. Minus 1.5 for Buffalo is plus 180. Columbus is plus 1.5 at minus 218. The over is 6.5 at minus 125. And the under is plus 105. John, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
Looking at this line, I think my gut instinct wants to pick Columbus just because I feel like I've been having good value with the fading large Buffalo money lines lately. But then I take a closer look at the numbers and I'm like, I'm having a harder time justifying this because offensively, scoring wise, they're both near even in goals per game and power play numbers. But Columbus's penalty kill is definitely worse. Goaltending, I think, is where the big disparity lies in this situation. Buffalo, middle of the pack team in goaltending, 3.05 in goals allowed per game. Columbus is second worst in the league, 3.73 goals a game. I think my problem is there isn't really a lot I trust here with Buffalo. I think numbers tell me Buffalo should win this game. My first gut says told me Columbus, so I think it's a battle between my gut and my head, honestly. With that said, I do think 140 is too much to put on Buffalo for this. So I'm going to cross my fingers here and do a 60-minute line for the Sabres. I think the goaltending is the difference here. Looking at the penalty kill numbers, looking at the goaltending numbers in particular here. And don't look now, but Buffalo's actually been playing all right lately. Before the Penguins won last night, they were starting to get close to them in the standings. So, yeah, it's a scary thought. I think
they're only 11 points out, John. Only 11 points out. Is there hope in Buffalo?
I can't have that discussion right now. I think in this game, though, I'll take the 60-minute line for Buffalo.
I got to give you so much credit, John. I told you I wasn't going to trip you for the Devils, and I'm actually going to give you a compliment now as well. So I'm really proud of myself with how our relationship has grown over the last 20 minutes or so. You said way more than I thought you were about Columbus and Buffalo. I am very, very proud, and that is really impressive. I think I'm with you. I think I settled. Settle on a 60-minute line as well at plus 120. I don't really love betting this game either way. I think can Columbus win this game like 8-5? Like this game could be like it could go under at plus 105, 6.5. It could absolutely be a really tight game, 3-2, or it could just be a bloodbath and either team could win this game. Like 8-5. Like it could. This game could go a million different ways. It also, you guys remember on the weekend, Columbus and the Sharks played, and that was obviously the worst game of the day when you're looking at the lines at 9 a.m. But by the end of the night, that was one of the most fun games of the day. So who knows what could happen in Columbus? I think I'm with you. 60-minute line Buffalo, but you got a couple other games to dabble on. If you want to stay away from this one, I wouldn't blame you. I will add Alex Tuck, 2 goals, 4 points in his last 5 games. Bit of a stretch, but for him to score is plus 175. So you want you got a little goal scoring parlay throughout the evening. That would be my pick in that game. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here?
Yeah, in a battle of teams that both won their last game and hate winning consecutive games, it's really tough.
Yeah.
This is a true stinker, but the Sabres have a 4-game winning streak on the road, and I'm going to lean on that to continue because they've also just been the better team all season. Solid goaltending with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Solid penalty kill. I'm going to take their 60-minute line just like the two of you. Don't want to touch the total. We saw a 9-4 game between these teams early December. Then we saw a 3-2 overtime game a few weeks later. So
Yeah.
No idea what to expect from the total. I will just say Sabre 60-minute line in prayers.
Yeah, betting on a result in this game really does feel like a slot machine. Like it's just you just pull the handle and who knows what's about to come out. I will say too, I apologize. Boone Jenner, 5 goals in his last 5 games. He's plus 155. So that's another goal scorer that I meant to mention. All right. Clean sweep on a Buffalo 60-minute line. That's a tough way to start this That's a tough way to start this program. Oh, but it doesn't get easier, John, because we're going to Chicago where the Winnipeg Jets, your favorite team, that's right. Favorite team to bet on and bet against. Winnipeg in Chicago. Chicago plus 220 underdogs. So disrespectful to Winnipeg that they're not plus 300 or more. But I obviously say that facetiously. Winnipeg minus 270 on the road. Minus 1.5 for Winnipeg is minus 102. Plus 1.5 for the Blackhawks is minus 118. The over is 5.5 at minus 110. The under is also minus 110. The Jets 4-1 since their 5-game losing streak. John, you're talking about the Canucks. Everybody goes through these streaks. The Jets went through theirs. They're now 4-1 since then. In the last 3 games, we've talked about this a lot with the Jets all year. Andre championed this stat that for the majority of their season, they did not allow more than 2 goals. And that was good for them because they didn't score more than 3 very often. Over the last 3 games, they have scored 6 goals, 3 goals, and 4 goals. So over the last 3 games, scoring more. Sean Monahan took a bit for him to get going since the trade to Winnipeg, but has been scoring recently. Kyle Connor, I threw out his goal scoring prop the other day just because he hadn't scored much since coming back from the injury. He has 1 goal, 6 assists in his last 5 games. He is plus 130 to score. Velarde had a really good first half of the year, or first third of the year anyway, kind of tapered off. He has 4 goals, 4 assists in his last 5 games. For him to score is plus 170. All that being said, my favorite props, bit of a long shot as always, but my favorite props from this game, specifically on the Winnipeg side, power play points. Both those 2 players that I just mentioned, Connor has 4 power play points in his last 5 games, plus 180 for him to get a power play point tonight. Velarde, 6 power play points in his last 3 games. 6 power play points in his last 3 games, plus 250 for him to get a power play point tonight. So I like both those guys to get power play points tonight. Probably go Velarde over Connor, but either one. On the Chicago side, what do you say? They're 1-10 in their last 11. They've allowed 3 goals or more in 5 of their last 6, 4 goals or more in 4 of their last 6. Tough. It's, what do you say about the Blackhawks other than throw out some Connor Bedard props, right? For him to get a point tonight is minus 140. I know that is quite a bit of juice. However, minus 140 to get a point for Connor Bedard is actually pretty good odds. I know that it's expensive, but not what you would expect. For Bedard to score tonight is plus 180. So that's really all I got on the Blackhawks. As far as the side, I clearly think that Winnipeg is going to win this game. I really like the under 5.5, and I like Winnipeg winning this game 3-1, 4-1. I like the minus 1.5 at minus 102. John, I understand taking a puck line against Chicago has not fared well, but I just don't think that the Blackhawks can really score. And I think minus 1.5 and the under seems like a logical play, but I can absolutely see it going sideways. Andre, we'll go to you next, man. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. Can't really see the Blackhawks scoring. Average the fewest goals per game in the league. Jets allow the fewest goals per game in the league. These teams met 3 times already at the end of 60 minutes. The Blackhawks had 1 goal every single time. Granted, they did one of those in OT 2-1, but they're not scoring against this Jets team. We've seen it 3 times. I expected a 4th time. It's why I like the under the most. When the Jets succeed, they're only looking to score like 3 goals. They're looking to win 3-0, 3-1, whatever. Against the Blackhawks, that's very attainable. Again, the puck line is tricky. I've been kind of leaning Blackhawks plus 1.5. It's only minus 118, which is really good for plus 1.5. And if you're expecting a lower scoring game for the 4th time, it would make sense that the Blackhawks are in it till the end. Like, they have a chance to make that happen. But that's really tricky. Especially the Blackhawks they allow fewer than 3 goals per game at home. 11 of their 15 wins have come in United Center. This isn't a game I would just give as a runaway for the Jets. But I think under 1.5 goals for Chicago is plus 155. I really like that. I like the under 5.5 for the game prop. If I were to think the Blackhawks were to score, Bedard and Khrushchev have treated me well all year. So I would go with one of them, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, Khrushchev. Yeah, that's good. Love it. John, what do you see? And why is it the Jets minus 2.5?
I don't really have a lot to add here. The goal scoring versus goaltending matchup, I think, is a little much. Andre touched on the history of these matchups in the season so far. I'm kind of expecting it to play out very similar here. So, and due to my curse with Chicago, any type of Chicago lines, I'm going to stay away from that entirely and stick with the under. Love under 5.5 tonight. I agree with you guys. I don't see a lot of scoring happening here. Wouldn't be shocked that Blackhawks got shut out. But I think to be safe, in case they pull something out of their I'm going to go with the under 5.5, because even if the Blackhawks win, I think it'll be low scoring.
Yeah, I think that's the right play. I do. All right. Finishing the night off in Edmonton. I think this is a good last game of the night. 9 p.m., not too late, not too early. My team has played 2 10 o'clock games back to back, so Lord knows that I'm ready to stop watching TV before midnight, hopefully. Minnesota in Edmonton. Some Minnesota money coming in. It was plus 160 an hour ago. It is now plus 154. Edmonton minus 185 was minus 192. Edmonton on the puck line. Minus 1.5 is plus 130. Plus 1.5 for the Wild is minus 155. The over is 6.5 at minus 130. The under is plus 110. Couple massive over games for Edmonton and Minnesota, and this under is like plus 110 for under 6.5. John, we'll go to you first, man. What do you see in this game tonight? Really, I know we kind of touched on it already earlier in the show, but just as a little recap, Minnesota is now 4 points out of a wild card spot with St. Louis and Nashville both winning last night. Seattle and Calgary are 3 points out of a spot, 1 point ahead of Minnesota. So a really, really big game for the Wild tonight. The Oilers don't need this game to get into the playoffs. However, with Vegas losing, they are 2 points back of Vegas as they jockey for home ice advantage in the first round. Over to you, John. What do you see here tonight?
I have a feeling Mark and I might clash a little bit on this game, but I am taking the Oilers puck line in this one. I'm feeling strangely confident they're going to pull through here. I don't think this is a good matchup for Minnesota at all. Like, they're going up against a team that's better than them offensively, and I tend to think this is the Wild's strength. Admittedly, I've been proven wrong on this before. Wild have played well of late, and you're right. This is a big game for them, especially everything we talked about last night playing out the way it did. Wild needs some points. There's no question about it right now. However, I feel like Edmonton is up to the challenge. I really do, especially after Wednesday's epic clash, which you guys called the game of the year. Probably good argument for it. I think Edmonton's going to be looking to bounce back here. I think they match up very well against Minnesota. I believe Minnesota allows like 0.5 more goals per game, 2.94 for Edmonton, 3.34 for Minnesota. The power play versus penalty kill matchup I really like in Edmonton's favor as well. Edmonton's over 26% on the power play this year. Minnesota's penalty kill right around 70%, not great, definitely near the bottom of the league. I think Edmonton can exploit this team's defense. Despite Minnesota's improvements recently, I think this is a bit too much for them. I'm going to take the Oilers puck line. I feel like they're a good enough team to bounce back.
Interesting. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here tonight?
Goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The last 5 Oilers games, the lowest scoring one was the 4-3 win in Dallas. Obviously, the Wild played a back-to-back earlier this week, 17-point game against Vancouver, followed that up with a 9-goal game in Winnipeg. 2 very dangerous offenses when they're healthy, when they're clicking, and both of them are right now. The goaltending, PK, defense, whatever you want to call it for each team, is a little bit weaker. So I'm definitely taking the over 6.5 at minus 130. Might wait for it to bump up to over 7 and just take that because the odds will be better. But I don't see very many options where this isn't a game with at least 7 goals. I mean, the first 2 meetings of the year, it was 4-3 and 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely just looking for scoring in this one. I would target player props and goal scorers more than anything, more than picking a side, because I don't think there's any good value in this one. I think I think the Wild are going to keep this one tight, probably lose by 1 goal, might push it to overtime. It doesn't leave you very many profitable options unless you think they're going to pull off the win. I don't think they're going to pull off the win. So can't take that 60-minute line. Don't trust it for the Oilers. Can't take that minus 1.5. The plus 1.5 for Minnesota's +1 or minus 155. It's not good enough for me. So I would just focus on the over and points, assists, goals, whatever, shots. Like, that's the type of game I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm glad that you mentioned the over, because you're like specifically on the Edmonton side, like those last however many games have been insane. Like 6-5, 6-3, 4-3, 6-3, 8-4. Like and even before that, like they lost to the Kings 4-0, but then they beat the Ducks 5-3. Like there have been insanely high scoring games over the last couple weeks, specifically on the Oilers side, and then we know about the Wild, as you mentioned, this week by itself has been crazy. I am with you on the props thing. I do have a sneaky suspicion about the Wild tonight. Plus 154, like you said, John, you thought that we might be at odds here, and you're correct. Not crazy odds. Like I do think the Oilers can and should win this game. The Oilers have kind of been playing with fire though recently. Like that 6-5 loss against Boston, they were losing that game 4-1. They beat the Coyotes 6-3. They were losing that game 3-2. They beat the Stars 4-3 in overtime. They lost to the Blues. They beat the Red Wings 8-4, but they were beating the Red Wings big, and the Red Wings came back and tied it up 4-4. And then Connor McDavid got like 19 assists in the third period and just took the game over. And then they lost 4-0 to the Kings. So since the Oilers winning streak came to an end, they've been winning games still, but they've kind of been playing with fire. And I think that this is a really desperate Minnesota team. You're getting plus 154. I kind of like that for the Wild. I just think you cannot play with fire when it comes to this Minnesota team right now. And so, yeah, I think you're absolutely right in your thinking to take the Oilers minus 1.5. I'm a little bit worried about how the Oilers have been playing as far as just letting games get too close for comfort. That being said, if you play with fire against the Wild, like that 10-7 game the Wild had against the Canucks, if that's against the Oilers win 13-10. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like you don't want to get in a goal scoring competition like you did excuse me, against the Canucks. All that being said, though, I do think you're absolutely right, Andre, about the over. I know it's minus 130, a little bit pricey, but I do like it as well. But more than anything, Andre, I agree with you about the props side of things. Eriksson Ek, 7 goals, 12 points in his last 5 games. For him to score tonight is plus 155. Kaprizov, 4 goals in his last 5 games. For him to score is plus 115. Boldy, 3 goals in his last 5 games. He's plus 150. My favorite of them all, though, Rossi, 4 goals in his last 5 games. He is plus 290 to score tonight. Now, Connor McDavid, we had this conversation the other day. He's plus 100, not beautiful odds. Obviously, we know what McDavid can do. He has 0 goals and 14 assists in his last 5 games, and his goalless drought goes beyond that. I'm just going to keep on sprinkling something on McDavid till he hits one, right? He's got to hit one eventually. He's plus 100 for him to hit on that. Really quickly to wrap up my prop rant. On the power play point side, again, we went there earlier. We're going back there. EK, 5 power play points in his last 5 games. For him to get one tonight is plus 210. And Kaprizov, 6 power play points in his last 5 games. Not the greatest odds when it comes to power play points, but for him to get one is plus 135. All right. That took a lot of energy. We talked a lot longer about 3 games than I thought we would. Good job, boys. Love it. Lots and lots. Yeah, you know what? Best bet segment. We've been getting close to sweeping. We haven't been. But you know what? You watch the show. We've been hitting on a lot of stuff this week. So It's why you tune in for the whole show and not just take the last second tweet from yours truly on the best bets.
Especially on my end, because my overall record hasn't been bad this week, but the best bets have been terrible.
It goes like that sometimes, man.
Shouldn't have let Mark scare you from the Kraken. That was the issue.
You're right, Andre. I did joke about that yesterday. In hindsight, that was the play.
See, John, it's my fault. You're fine. You're getting hot. I'm just putting out your fire, bro. It's my fault.
Sure, let's go with that.
But you know what, though, man? It's the perfect time to redeem yourself because it's now time for our best bets, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. With promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, doesn't matter. They have it. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, number 1 ST, roundcollectibles.com, promo code Sports Addict, 10% off. They have sales items still up on the website, up to 50% off. And with our promo code, you get an additional 10% off, whether it's on sale, whether it's regular price, it doesn't matter. You get 10% off with the promo code Sports Addict. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, we'll go to you first, man. Give John a couple seconds to make sure he really feels confident about this pick. Andre, we'll go to you, man. What is your best bet on a Friday night?
I was really hoping John would go first. I
mean, John, if you're ready, bro.
I'm honestly.
I have a lot of potential options. I got it. I can go.
All right.
We'll go back to the Wild Oilers game in Edmonton. We talked about goal scoring a lot. We talked about, the offenses. We talked about some power plays, and that's where I'm rolling. Leon Draisaitl power play point is plus 130 for this game.
Ooh.
He has 3 power play points in the 2 games against Minnesota this season. I don't really think I need to sit up here and gas the Oilers power play, but if I do, they're 4th in the league. They have 2 generational talents sharing the ice at the same time with Draisaitl and McDavid. And yeah, Draisaitl has 26 power play points for the season. Of his 68, he's more than a point per game player. The Wild, their PK, not the greatest, 30th, below 75% for the season. They're on the road. This is, the Oilers are going to get their chances. I think they're going to capitalize. And I think for at least the 4th time this season, Draisaitl is going to be one of the guys picking up a point with the man advantage. So I'm taking Draisaitl power play point at plus 130.
Getting bold on a Friday, bro. I absolutely love it. Can you same game parlay power play points now?
I think you can, but I'll see. Points.
All right, because
yes, you can.
Beautiful. John, what is your best bet on this Friday night?
So I've really been debating between 2 bets, maybe a third. I think I'd be too crazy to pick this third one, but I was tempted after something you guys said. Because you guys mentioned Bedard is like minus 140. I'm almost tempted to pick against him. I really think Winnipeg shuts him down tonight. But knowing Chicago, I think it's just too much to bet against. It's like Chicago always gets me, and I think it's a little too much to ask to not even get a point in that game. And Bedard's the only one that does anything. So that's the one I was kind of tempted to really press my luck. But the main 2 I was debating between was like under 5.5 in Jets and Oilers puck line. I'm leaning towards the first one, but the main reason I've been hesitant is because while the Blackhawks are involved, I'm always scared to go. I'm always scared to go with anything involving them, honestly. But the more I look at this, the more it's like I think I have to do it. I mentioned the goal scoring versus goaltending matchup in that game tonight. And on top of this, the Jets have allowed 9 goals the last 2 games. I think that's got to be corrected. Like the Jets were on a good streak before that with goals allowed, but the last 2 games they've been slipping a little bit. I feel like this is a good opportunity for the Jets to get back on track. And I just don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring involved. And the history of this matchup this year proves it. So reluctantly crossing my fingers here, but it would be only fitting if the Blackhawks completed an 0-5 week. But give me that under 5.5.
You know what, man? Mark from an hour ago would make fun of you, but since our relationship has grown over the course of this show, I'm going to commend you. You're 0-4 this week on Best Bets, and you're going to close off the week with the team that's been killing you the most all year. I love it. I'm not even making fun. I truly do. That is a true gambler right there. Eventually, the tide has to break. Yeah, exactly. I love it so much. Good for you. Good for you.
John, if it makes you feel any better, that was my runner-up. So you're not
okay.
alone.
So I have some company.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
I'm fully on your side.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna hope I don't blow our parlay tonight. Let's wrap up the week well.
I'll tell you what. Andre's best bet is a power play point. I'm about to throw out a prop for my best bet. So if yours is the only one that loses and the 2 props hit, that's a tough end to the week, bro. That's a tough end.
You're right. Now I can't lose if you're about to throw
out a prop. That's a tough end, yeah. Well, I'm going to go right back. The reason why I asked you about the same game parlay, Andre, is because I'm going to go right back to that game as well. You're taking a superstar on the Oilers side. I'm going to take a superstar on the Wild side, and you might hear this name and say superstar. This guy has emerged as a superstar this year. There's no doubt about it. You might think that Kaprizov is the biggest name on the Wild, but I've watched a lot of this team this year, and trust me when I say that Eriksson Ek is the straw that stirs the drink in Minnesota. Kaprizov's a flashy player. He does his thing. But Eriksson Ek on both sides of the puck has just been terrific and seemed like a bust for the majority of his career. And over the last couple years, this year specifically, he's really emerged as a superstar, in my opinion. If not super, then at least a star. But he's well on his way. He has 19 shots over his last 5 games, specifically against the Jets. He got 5 shots. Against Vancouver, he had 4 shots. Against Buffalo and Arizona, he had 3 shots. Against Vegas, he had 4 shots. We can even go further back than that. He is over 3.5 shots on DraftKings today. Over 3.5 is plus 110. Am I on the right prop? Yeah, I am. Whew. Plus 110 for him to get over 3.5 shots. I really, really like that for my best bet tonight. Eriksson Ek over 3.5 plus 110.
So, Mark, I had, before we started best bets, I had 4 bets in my slip that I was deciding between. The dry side one I went with, the under in Winnipeg Blackhawks, and then Eriksson Ek shots, Eriksson Ek goal scorer. So,
love it.
Look at that. Just
talk about being really on the same page.
Beautiful.
Yeah, maybe we spend too much time together. Finishing each other's parlays now.
Yeah. we need an all-star break. That's what we need.
That almost happened the other day too, when Mark and I both wanted to pick Detroit against Seattle, and that was both of our runners up, and Detroit ended up winning that game.
Love it.
We're getting there. We're gonna be one mind soon. The under in Jets Blackhawks, courtesy of John, minus 110. And then Open up your little same game parlay. We got Leon Draisaitl over 0.5 power play points. On its own is plus 130, but you put it with over 3.5 shots for Joel Harrison Eck, which is plus 110 on its own. Parlayed with Draisaitl, it's plus 360. The 3 legs together, plus 778.
Let's get some
Absolutely
money
love it. I think this is a good night for you, John. I'll probably bet this in my personal life tonight. I really like that bet. Specifically yours I'm talking about. I believe in you, man. I believe in you.
I just think I'm due to get something right for the Blackhawks.
I would love to go back. I mean, I'm not going to. It seems like a lot of work, but I would love to go back and watch every single show we've ever done. And have any of us ever been 0 for 5 in a week?
I don't think
know.
So.
I don't think so either.
I know I personally have never been 0 and 5 in a week.
Well, listen, man, we all got those weeks. I believe in you. I believe in us. Great show today. Great week, boys. I feel like this week's been a good week for us. Thank you to everybody for watching or listening while you're doing something else. Whatever it is that you're doing, we appreciate you, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching after the fact, wherever, whenever. We appreciate you. Total Apex Sports, we appreciate you. Thank you for having us on board. Everybody, good luck on your bets this weekend. Be smart out there. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you Monday. Adios.